So, welcome to another episode of Source and Company. I am your host, Source, of course. For those who don't know, you can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. Obviously, we're doing this on TikTok Live at Source, of course, on both of those. And the Source and Company podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. All right. Today's company. Y'all, listen. I'm not, we can talk about the whole link up later, but this man, if you ever saw the Cue Ball documentary, which was on Netflix about San Quentin
Hmm.
and the Golden State Warriors traveling to that prison and playing against the inmates, this man here was the PA or the announcer at the games, and later on he was invited to be the PA at a Warriors game, and he's just been continuing on since
Hmm.
then. No need for a long intro. Today's company, Aaron Taylor, bro. I appreciate you, really.
Man, I appreciate you, and like I said, I know we're gonna get into the interview, right? And I understand that, but like I said, I appreciate you and reach out and the best thing that I can be, like I tell everybody in any interview I'm doing or any live I'm doing here on TikTok or Instagram myself, is just to be open, transparent, and honest about everything that I'm talking about. So you're gonna have that from me today during this interview, this conversation, this give and take, and I'm definitely gonna be open and transparent and definitely supportive of what you're doing. So, you know, here I is.
Well, let me ask you off top then. Why? And I know you explained it at first, as far as representing for your people who support you and that you support on TikTok. But
Mhm.
why are you coming into this uh, time in your life? I'll say so open.
Well, it starts with the self-help groups that I was taking while I was incarcerated. And for those of your audience that don't know, I spent 26 years inside a California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations for a attempted armed robbery and assault with a deadly weapon that I did on August the 25th, 1994. And so while I was incarcerated, I took part in some self-help groups, and um, they helped to go back and address those childhood and early year traumas that help form us who we are in our early adult years and whatnot. And
Right.
so when you start addressing that, one of the things that happens was you start to form empathy, right? It's not just that you feel sorry for another person, but you put yourself in their shoes and
Hmm.
start to see things from their perspective. And when that really started to become a part of who I was, right? When that really started to sink in, right? I let it come in. And so what you're seeing now is a person who's much healthier, after I come out of prison, after all that time. And I understand what my position is. And so I'm enjoying my life, as a whole complete human being now, not just somebody else's caricature of what manhood is supposed to represent. Now I'm out here being a full human being, and man, I'm enjoying it. I love it, man.
I,
It's more important to me to be a whole human than it is to be quote unquote Aaron Showtime Taylor or some type of little, quasi star that came out of prison. No, it's more important for me to just be Aaron Taylor first and foremost. And I'm loving it.
I love it. I love it as well. Um, Sheesh. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Let's just go back. Let's go back. Where are you originally from?
So I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Lived here the overwhelming majority of my life. I spent about 10 months in Texas in my teenage years. And basically all my living has been here in California.
Okay. Okay. So leading up to and he he stated, just so we're all clear. Also, what's up? You got played. Shout out to my girl. You got played. Um, he stated to me earlier, and he stated already that he open and transparent. So when I ask these questions, I'm not being a jerk or anything like that.
No,
I'm asking the questions, and he's answering them or not answering them. Right.
even before you ask the question, let me say this. The only way to have a full or to get some type of understanding of the person that you're interviewing, I don't want you to feel like you got to tiptoe with me. I came onto your show and I told you, hey man, ask me any question you want. I don't care what the question is. Ask it. because a
Word,
lot of people want to know, and because I did time in prison, I know there's a lot of questions on that, and what brought me to prison and all that. Don't fear it. Just ask it. Either I'm gonna answer it or I'm not, like you said. But I'm gonna answer the questions.
word. That's
That's why I'm here.
I love it. I love it. So let's go back to pre-prison,
Okay.
pre furniture store robbery.
Hmm.
What was going on in your life that was the idea?
Meaning the idea that it was okay to,
No,
turn toward a life of crime or what?
no, no, not even that it was okay. That was the best move at the moment.
Uh, so taking myself back there mentally and how I was feeling then, in those moments, I felt like that was the only option I had. I guess in today's frame, or I was locked up when I heard the phrase, and I think it came out like 2002, something like that. Get rich or die trying.
Hmm.
In my youth, it was the same thing. And growing up in the 80s and 90s, and coming out of teenage years in the early 20s, it's the same challenges that we face now, except we didn't have social media,
Right,
right?
right,
And so um, it took 3 months from records to come from the East Coast to the West Coast, and in that same vein, it took 3 months for information to get to us, right? As far as what game orientated was back then. So it was really just like, you know, if I wasn't doing plumbing work, which I started doing when I came out of high school, it was pick up a pistol and start robbing shit, just to be
word,
blunt, And I have a brother who's passed now, but my brother and my cousin, who's the owner and operator of Drain Man, who you hear me advertise here on TikTok and on Instagram and Facebook. He's had his plumbing company for almost 30 years. So I had that option, right? To be
right,
able to get up and go to work for a family business. But like I said, during that time, I wanted mine quick. I didn't really want to put a lot of work in. And during those times, I was also an aspiring rapper. We had a rap group out here in Los Angeles as well. And so going to work every day for me at that time was like, man, that's kind of square. I need my money fast. I need it right now because I got to pay for studio time. I got to do pay for labels and all of this other stuff like it was back then when you was putting records on wax. So I
right,
made a choice. Now, even though I made a conscious choice, I still convinced myself that it was the white man's fault, that it was the court's fault, that it was black women's fault, that it was my parents' fault, that it was my environment's fault. You see, I still came up with excuses to blame everybody for why I made the decision that I made, right?
mm,
Instead of owning and taking personal accountability and personal responsibility and just saying, bruh, you didn't want to go to work and work hard like everybody else, so you just start robbing shit and you became a thug. Keep it a buck. Don't play with it. Tell the truth.
right.
You chose a life of crime and it sent you to jail. That ain't nobody else's fault but mine. That's it. I'm not blaming nobody else for none of my issues anymore ever in life.
That's a lesson learned though, and I don't know if that comes from your uh your time in prison or just age.
Both. It's
Respect.
both. Because had I not went to prison, I would have never been able to be put into a position where I did a complete diagnostic evaluation on myself and found that I was wanting in many areas, right?
Right.
The first being in character and integrity.
Mm,
I was wholly lacking in those. Now I had it as a gangster on a gangster code, but just on a humanistic level, I didn't have it. I was a lion that was running with lions back in the 80s and the 90s. We kept the hyenas at bay.
right.
When they locked all of the lions up and put us all in incarceration, that left the hyenas to take over. You saw the Lion King. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm with it. I'm with
Right. And you had these scars running around here, perpetrating as if they was, for the people.
it. Right.
I can't blame none of that. None of that. Devaluing of our society and none of that, except on myself and the decisions that I made. Because I took part in the action that sent me to jail, that took me away from my community, that helped my community go in the direction that it went. And so now I'm back much healthier and I'm offering help. That's what
Yeah,
you do. When you find out that you're wrong, you get yourself right and then you bring it back to your folks.
that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Now I just since I talked, first of all, just so y'all know, I didn't even realize that he was himself on TikTok until until yesterday. So I'm scrolling through. I mentioned this before he came on. I was like, I saw you, and you had Darrell Wright and then Steph Curry behind you in the
Mm-hmm.
picture. And I was like, bro, on the court. Wait a second. And then the I guess maybe there's another video, and it's you in the press room when they're doing
Mm-hmm.
the press game. And I was like, hold on. And that's when I asked, were you in media? And you said, check your DMs. And then I saw the name Aaron Showtime Taylor, and I was like, hold on, bro. Went to Google, cue ball popped up. I was like, nah, ain't no, there's no way, there's no way. This is the announcer from San Quentin, and yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Can I tell you
Crazy.
what's behind that?
Let me know.
So when I first got released, I got released October the 16th, 2020. And I had seen and heard about TikTok on the news, with related to Trump and him getting, gaslit and him
Right,
wanting to kill TikTok. So I was familiar with it, but even the phone I had, I let that go a year before I came home because I didn't want to mess up my chances of parole, right? But my first initial thing with TikTok was to put together little videos of myself together from inside with photos and stuff. And I still had that underground footage that I got posted up now of the basketball game in 2017. So I had a strategy that I was going to move out with, right? But I seen a video with Better Be For Real and I Am Scotty 7, right? When he was doing the lip syncing to her. And I
hmm
seen her reaction to that video. And I looked, I said, you know what? I'm finna change my strategy. So I left I left Aaron Showtime Taylor over for Twitter and for Instagram, the Rebirth the Chick, the play-by-play guy. And over
right,
here, I strictly cultivated the quote unquote character that my nieces gave me. I don't have any biological children. I have two nieces and two nephews. And my eldest niece has two sons. Those are my grandnephews. So for
right.
her, I'm her uncle. My brother died in 2006, so I'm also a father figure to her. So that's Uncle Daddy. And then when we get to Grandpa, I'm old enough to be a grandfather to my brother's grandchildren. So I slid into that role too. And she gave me that name, Uncle Daddy Grandpa. And I've cultivated that over here strictly. I didn't want this to have anything to do with the Warriors. I didn't want it to have anything to do with Aaron Showtime Taylor in any shape, form, or fashion. I wanted to be Uncle Daddy Grandpa over here and be judged solely on the merit of my work, right?
Wow.
And Andy Dooley, last year when I went to the Chase Center, Andy Dooley got a hold to the post game press, the post game interview, right? With myself and Steph and Bays, right?
Yeah,
And he posted it, and some people who were supporting me here saw it, and hey, that's Uncle Daddy Grandpa right there.
that's how I felt. That's how I felt. Hey,
And the
I was
cat was out the bag. I couldn't keep them separated no more. So
okay. That makes sense. Yeah, we definitely have to talk about that. And shout out to Ken Basemore. He went to ODU in Virginia, so gotta rep that
yeah,
VA.
I
But
got you. I understand.
so let's go back to that fateful day. Furniture store. I
Okay.
watched the Rhea Taylor interview.
Mm-hmm.
And you explained exactly what happened. I'm going to paraphrase it for you. You tell me if I'm wrong. Um, Robbery. They shoot. You're in a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
You get hit here.
Right here. Mm-hmm.
When you come to, somebody's about to hit you with the butt of a gun,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner of the furniture store stopped them from hitting you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was he one of the people that was shooting back at you?
Definitely he was.
Wow.
Yeah. So the one that shot me was the employee with the rifle,
Right.
and I was turning my head, and the bullet caught me here, and then drove my head into the wall, and I fall out. I'm out. And when I opened my eyes up, the employee who had shot me is now getting ready to come down with the rifle like this, but the owner of the store is right here by my head, and he tells him no. The police are on their way. excuse me, and just like I said in the Maria Taylor interview, when my head finally cleared up about 6 or 7 years into my sentence, because I was given 50 to life,
Right.
and I didn't expect to go to the board until 2043. That was my outlier. So I'm kind of walking around like a zombie the first 7 years. I'm just fight or flight type mentality. Not really knowing which direction I wanted to go because I just in my head I messed my life up. But
Right.
about 7 years in, 6 or 7 years in, right around 9/11 is when I really started to take a look at what brought me to prison. And then I went back to that moment that he stopped him from hitting me in the face with that rifle. And that's when I said, you know what? I got to prove this guy made the right decision by not killing me or allowing that dude to deform me or do much worse to me than had already been done for me going in there violating their rights. Right.
Right.
And when I made that decision, that's when it wasn't just about me rehabilitating and reforming myself, but it was about taking what I knew and taking uh, the knowledge that I had and putting it to work to help everybody else around me,
Mm.
right? To change the environment inside where I was living at. So one of the reasons I was able to get parole from the Board of Prison and Hearing Terms was the work that I did that nobody knew about. The basketball leagues that I formed at this particular prison that reduced violence on the yard that I lived on for 3 straight years.
Mm.
And that was recognized by the captain of the yard, the correctional counselors, the associate wardens, and the warden himself. All of them put chronos in my file. Now I didn't do this looking for that. I didn't
Right.
go into it for that. My reasoning for going into doing this particular type of work was I was tired of seeing young black men on the yard with me bring their gang banging mentality from Los Angeles or other parts of the state into prison down to an area where wasn't nobody black living, but the prison just happened to be there. So you took all your street politics and brought it to prison with you, and now y'all fighting each other and leaving. And in prison, it's about numbers, and the race quotas and balances wasn't working out for us at all. So every time 6 black young men left the yard, who was willing to fight for street turf that they was no longer on,
Right.
that left 6 soldiers. That means that 6 soldiers left that we may need in case all of our lives is on the line in a race riot, or even worse, you trying to help people get their kids back home to them out of prison. And I was
That's
in a position where I didn't want to be the one who had to call somebody's brother or call somebody's uncle or call somebody's mother and tell them, somebody I knew, and tell them that their son or their nephew or their cousin was in prison with me. And I didn't do everything I could to make sure that they walked out of there and allowed something to happen to them. That's why I started doing the work. But I used sports as the vehicle to make it happen. And that's what the prison recognized and gave me the accolades for.
so that the rehabilitation part,
Mm-hmm.
but that was self. Is that anything to do with the prison system? Is there anything in place that made you think about your time differently as far as from their standpoint, not just inside yourself?
So from their standpoint, the first time I signed up for a self-help group, which was a parenting class a year after my brother died. My brother died in 2006 from a incident that he had 2 years earlier with the police who tased him in his house, in his bed, right, while I
Wow.
was locked up. So he dies. And so now I have uh, my second niece and my 2 nephews are like 4 or 5 years apart from each other, but they were kids. I think my second niece might have been 11 when my brother died, and that left my eldest nephew 5, and the youngest might have been 2. So they're really about to grow up without their father. And now I'm sitting in prison, and my thought pattern was, damn, man, I done fucked my life off, man, and my brother's kids need me right now. Okay, let me go to this parenting class and let me try to learn some strategies so I can start trying to be a parent from inside and do it with letter writing and on the 15-minute phone calls, right? Let me start something. So for the prison system, that was the first step that I took toward rehabilitation in their eyes. In my personal self, my road to rehabilitation actually started because I became a Muslim in 1992. Before I went to jail, I was trying to ward off what I felt was coming anyway. But
Right.
like most people who join any religion, not just Islam or Christianity, just when you join any religion just because it feels good in the moment, but you don't study everything that goes along with it, then that religion ain't gonna help you. I don't care what it is.
Right.
You're not applying yourself to it. So that's why I ended up going to jail. So when I came back to Islam when I was in prison and I started studying, it started helping me heal spiritually. It started to help me correct my morals. But the
Ah,
rehabilitation part of it came in so I can relate to other people without having to use religion or spirituality. I could just relate on a human level. And so that's why I appreciated both of them.
in that I don't know if it was in that interview or in a different interview, but I think I heard you use the word grace, and it probably partially goes back to the grace shown by the owner of the furniture store. What else, if you remember, what else were you referring to as far as being shown grace in general?
So it starts with that move. Because again, when you've convinced yourself, and I, again, was a typical young black male, inner city, urban, whatever the hell you want to call it, everything was everybody else's fault except mine.
Hmm.
The way I thought, I only thought this way because the white man did what he did. I only think this way because this broad ain't shit, that one ain't shit, so all y'all ain't. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I'm thinking in the generalities that most young, early teen, late teen, early 20s, sometimes into the late 20s, back in the 80s and 90s, was
Hmm.
thinking about women, but we kind of matured out of it when we hit our late 20s to early 30s. It didn't stretch like it is now, right? This is stretching into the 40s now, where quote unquote we're talking about young men and young men's thoughts, but the people we talking about is 40 and 45 now instead
Right.
of 25 and 28. So that's something that happened while I was gone. But back to the point, I could easily blame everybody else for everything that happened to me because it wasn't my fault. I was just born young and black, and the world hated me. I didn't even value myself. So how could I look at anything else and value it? You was on the same value system that I was on. And since I
Hmm.
wasn't shit, you ain't shit either. That had to be changed. That had to be addressed. That had to be confronted. And the process in those self-help groups inside of prison, like I said, the religion does one thing. Religion can scare the shit out of you because you don't want to go to hell based on the things that you read. So, okay, I'm going to be good just so I don't suffer that after I'm dead.
Right.
Right. But if you're a spiritual person, you may not see it the same way. You may see it as, well, every time I go to sleep, I die. And when I wake up, I have an opportunity to be reborn and reconstruct my life again. Right. That's if you're a spiritual person. If you don't believe in neither one, God or spirit, then maybe you just moving on principles that says, you know what? I'm not going to try to mess over nobody. That way I don't have to worry about nobody trying to mess over me.
Hmm. Common.
Whatever your principle is, I needed it to rehabilitate myself and heal myself before I could try to help somebody else.
That's dope. That's dope. Are you able to see have you been able to see that come to fruition in other people that you've come across in the prison system? Do you even keep relationships outside of the prison system?
Of course, I'm spent 26 years of my life in prison. As long as guards are selling cell phones in prison, I'm gonna keep contacts inside of prison. Keep it 100. Every phone I had in prison, a guard sold me. Don't believe the hype on the other stuff. Trust me
Oh,
when I tell you. But yeah, I keep contact with a few people that we're expecting to come out, right? And yeah, you want to keep a temperature gauge because I always remember who I'm representing out here. When I came out of prison and the way that I came out and the spotlight that was put on me based on accepting the Warriors offer to come up to the Chase Center, just 4 or 5 months after I'm out, I understood. And myself and my two nieces, we strategized because one is the CEO of my company, the other one is my former manager. She's working someplace else now. But at the time, my youngest niece was my manager, and my eldest niece is the CEO of the company I started called Elevated Entertainment. And so we're sitting down strategizing about what this means to have this offer come in from the Warriors, you know.
that was
And
immediate. That was your immediate thought.
my immediate thought was in the paper where I busted out, started crying when I read that email. That was the first thing I did. It
Right.
was a long time. Listen, man, I went to the board and told them that I was going to be calling an NBA final series within 5 to 7 years after my release. Now I had a plan out on paper in a notebook that I had been writing in for a couple of years, and I brought it home with me. And so that plan got accelerated the moment I got released, and I had nothing to do with it. I can't
Right.
even explain how it happened. All I did was just make a couple of texts and send out a couple of emails. And the next thing I know, the universe, Allah, Yahweh, Ashade, Wakanate, Zeus, Theos, whatever you want to call the Most High or whatever you believe in, went to work. And in March, after I came from doing play-by-play for the American Basketball Association All-Star Game, the same weekend as the NBA All-Star Game, that game was being played on Sunday. I came back home from calling that, and there was an email waiting on me, man, from Raymond Ritter, who I met while I was inside. And he said, "Hey, man, you want to come up and do some public address for us?" I knew in that moment, and we strategized about it, that I was getting ready to be the face of rehabilitation in the country, that I was getting
Mm.
ready to be representing 2.3 million Americans who are justice impacted, that I was getting ready to be representing everybody, male and female, or any other gender that they classify themselves as, who are either locked up in prison, on parole, on probation, in the county jail, whatever it is, whether I liked it or not, whether I like those people's politics or their personal choices or not. I and they, my two nieces, we came to understand that they was getting ready to make me the Jackie Robinson of ex-cons with the move that they was doing.
Mm.
And that meant that I really had to sit down and do some soul searching, because that's a huge responsibility and a huge weight, to understand that every
100.
move that I make, right, every move I make in public is going to be reflective of some people who may be locked up for some crimes that I probably would have beat them up for if I ran across them in jail, you
Right.
know. But I'm in a position now where my face and what I do represents all of them. And so I had to really sit down and do some soul searching on the man that I matured into during those 26 years inside. And was I the same person as a religious man as when I came out? So I dropped the religion first and just stayed with spirit.
Ah, I feel you.
I
I
had to
feel
leave
you.
religion alone. I can't represent the people I represent because some of them hold political views and other personal views that I wholeheartedly disagree with. But again, I understand the position I was put in. So I had to make a choice. And in that soul searching, I said, I don't need religion anymore. I just need spirituality, because spirituality is going to help me connect to energy. And energy doesn't have a sex, it doesn't have a race, it doesn't have a politic. It just is what it is. So I'd rather connect to energy, to positive energy, and repel negative energy, or step away from negative energy, rather than deal with the physical that's standing in front of me. I'd rather deal with the energy.
You mentioned Jackie Robinson, and I was talking about Jackie Robinson not too long ago, maybe the last week or two on live. I was talking about Jackie Robinson and Obama, I believe it was. I was like, it takes a certain type of person to be able to step into these moments as the first of something, because whatever you do is going to be scrutinized, and you may be the reason people get another chance, or you may be the reason people never get a chance. So that is a heavy weight, but you realize that beforehand. Now, my guess is 26 years ago, you weren't the person that would be able to hold that weight. That's just a guess. But now,
That's a good guess. that's
but
that's a guess that came from them grays in your face.
you know, I might know a little something. Might know a little something.
Right.
But now you are that man. I don't even know. That I don't even know what to say about that. That's heavy though. But how did we even end up in this situation with the Warriors coming to San Quentin? And were you there when the plan was put in place? And did this whole plan of yours come into play, knowing that they were coming to the?
Okay, before I answer that question, let me say this. Hey, anybody that's on my side of this, please share this live for me. Please share it. I want to try to get as many people in. to get more of my backstory. I know during my lives that a lot of y'all are there and you've been with me for a while, so you know I'm a metaphysician and I'm deeply in the esoteric sciences. But I want you to share this live so people can learn more about how I got to become that person, right? So I'd appreciate if you do that for me if you here listening.
Well,
All right,
same
to
thing.
answer
Old share the light. Hit the likes. Tap something.
okay, give me the short version of that question one more time.
I forgot the question. No, about the Warriors.
Okay, yeah, the
Coming.
words. Okay, so this what
Yeah.
happened. Uh, the court had made a decision in the Ninth Circuit that CDCR had to start restructuring the prison system to start releasing people, right? And even though that the prison system in California and the politicians was fighting against it, they started making moves to get ready for it in case it happened, and so that meant restructuring. So I was at another prison, right, where I had moved to once my points had came down and my security level dropped, so I can get to a place to have a little bit more freedom within the prison system. And while I was there, they did the restructuring. So I ended up coming to San Quentin in December of 2011. Now, I've been doing play by play at every prison I've been in the county jail before I got to prison, right? And so I got a really, really good reputation in the prison system. Even people who've never met me know about me because somebody got transferred. And there's a dude doing play by play over here sound just like Chick Hearn, right? This is how it goes around, right? Word on the curb, what they call it in prison, right?
Right.
Now I get to San Quentin and I got a partner from Venice, right? And he's there and he referees the games, right? So he heard me do play by play when I got there just on the yard messing around. And he said, "Man, I'm gonna introduce you to Bob Myers." Who the hell is that Bob Myers? He said, "Man, that's the general manager of the Golden State Warriors." Man, get the fuck out of here, man. The Warriors ain't coming inside no damn prison to play back. Who do you think you talking to, man? What? He said, "No, man, listen, man, I'm telling you, man. Bob Myers, the general manager of the Golden State Warriors, he comes in here and he plays against the 40 and over San Quentin Kings basketball team. They also had a San Quentin Warriors team, but the Kings were actually better at this point, right?" And he's like, "Man, I'm gonna introduce you to him," but I'm still like, this is my you
Ah,
trying to get me to believe that the Golden State Warriors is finna come into San Quentin State. Do I look stupid? So the week before he shows up, I had a job working on death row, and we fix their trays for them, and they take them over there and feed them in the cells and stuff. And the lead man, I was the second. The lead man got sick, and so he had to take off, and that made me the lead man. So the first time that Bob Myers came, I missed it because I'm the only one that know the number system to do these trays. If I don't
right.
feed the death row people, it ain't gonna be no basketball being played on the yard because it's gonna get ugly. And so the same time that he rescheduled to come back and bring Draymond Green and Coach Jackson in with him and start to make this an annual game was around the same time that a lot of people on the yard was telling me, "Hey man, you need to try to do play by play for that game when they come in,"
Mm.
right? But like in most systems that's already set up before you get there, San Quentin had a political system that was filled with a lot of haters, right? And it was a lot of people that didn't want to get me on the microphone so they can hear me do the play-by-play to enhance the basketball program because there were some jealous people that felt I would take attention away from them and whatever it was they was doing, right?
Gotcha.
So the first year I couldn't get any audio equipment and I had to learn the politics on the yard. And once I learned the politics on the yard with the help of one particular guy named Richard Zorns, then the next year I was able to get the audio equipment I need, and then that's when we start walking this walk toward history.
Okay. So the first time he came is what, 2012?
2012, Draymond Green, Festus Ezeli, and Harrison Barnes were the picks that year. And they brought Draymond Green up in his rookie year to take part in this game.
Mm.
In 2013, Coach Jackson came back with Bob Myers again, and they brought Brian Scalabrine. They brought Jerry Westson with him, and a couple other people on the coaching staff, Twin Collins. They came in and played against the San Quentin Warriors, and trust me, the San Quentin Warriors ain't no joke. Right now, the record is 3-4 San Quentin Warriors. We had 3 wins and they got 4. Let
For
me tell
real.
you something. Bob Myers hates to lose. And the year that he lost, he brought Luke Walton up there with him, right? And Luke Walton really wasn't taking the game serious, right? And like Bob said in the interview, you know, what am I gonna say to a prisoner because I lost a basketball game to him? I can't talk shit to a dude sitting on San Quentin yard. What am I gonna tell him? And he wouldn't say it, but I'm putting this in there. I could just hear him saying, man, I'm not worried about losing a basketball game here. I just want a championship, right? But Bob intimately knows that every time he comes down that hill, that loss is going to be staring him in the face.
That's real.
So he said some shit to Luke Walton that I'll never repeat, but he said something to Luke Walton to make me know that he was really serious about not losing. And like he said, it sticks with you. So the record is San Quentin Warriors 3 wins, Golden State Warriors coaching staff 4 wins. That's where the record stands at. And had COVID not happened, we was already set up because unfortunately black men keep coming to jail. So we had a very large black man with basketball game who had just showed up.
Y'all had a ringer. Y'all had a
So we was getting ready for Bob and them to come back again, but COVID hit and all of that. So, but yeah, that aspect, I think, just in the spirit of what you're talking about, just the fact that you have a professional organization of that caliber, taking the time to send their coaching staff and the general manager and the owner's son, Kurt and Kent Lakeup, they come and play every game. The Lakeup sons, they're there at every game. Like I said, I done give everybody on their team got nicknames the whole 9 yards. It gave me the opportunity to recapture some of that human interaction that you get outside of dealing with another incarcerated person like myself, or dealing with a CEO or a staff member. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting to talk to somebody who I can have a conversation with that has absolutely zero to do with something dealing with jail other than we standing in jail having it.
right, right, right.
You know, and that's huge when we start talking about rehabilitation. You know, there's a project that I'm getting ready to get started with. I'm waiting on one more permission where I'm going to be dealing with that aspect of rehabilitation where it comes to human contact from people who have absolutely nothing to do with the jail system, but just being able to talk to somebody and they can have a conversation to get them mentally out of prison. You know, that's part of where the institutionalization takes place because you don't have nothing to talk about.
Right.
You know, you get out here and people are talking about stuff they did over the last 20 years. Well, what did you do? Well, let me see. I was this Mexican dude tried to hit me in the back of the head with a weight during the race ride, right? And then another time, I was in the shower and the fool pulled a shank on me. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. What kind of conversation is that I'm gonna have, man, out here, man?
Yeah.
So so dealing so dealing with the warriors and all of the volunteers that do come inside of San Quentin gives you the opportunity to actually recapture some of your social skills, right? So you can have something to talk about other than your celly, you know, or do you watch TV? No, I don't watch TV. I'm out doing stuff in the street. Oh, well, you know, get something to talk about other than the normal stuff. And that's what, you know, dealing with that entire sports program does, because I just didn't do play by play for basketball. I did it for baseball, football, tennis, soccer, handball tournaments. If they played marbles or had a spit wide contest, I was doing the play by play for it.
Word. Oh, you were just a play-by-play guy for everything. Okay, it's not
Listen,
just
I put on rap concerts up in there. The definition of a real MC rap contest in 2012, 13, and 14 after your boy Kel Spence in Philly that did the piece with DJ Jazzy Jeff.
mm-hmm.
Uh, the definition of a real MC. As an MC, I promise you that I ain't never gonna spit the doo-doo that they do. That Kel Spence, right? So I had a rap contest for 3 years running called the definition of a real MC, where I got some money together, you know, put it together. Okay, we're gonna crown us a winner. And again, unfortunately, you have people that's coming to jail who used to be executives in record companies, and you know, people who rap. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
you know, coordinate some stuff, get it together, and give us something positive to do. You know what I'm saying? Some building skills and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Some social skills, conflict resolution, all that good stuff.
So when you got out in 2020, what month was it? November,
October.
October.
Yeah.
All right. So how do things go from March? Well, you know, you're in California, so it would have been from January really through October. Did
To
that,
now?
as far as COVID, uh,
Oh, you talking about me coming out of prison in COVID?
oh no, well, I was gonna get to that. Just being in prison during COVID.
Oh. Yeah, so that's a cold feeling, brother. Let me tell you something, man. San Quentin had one guard get symptoms of COVID, and everybody that carpooled with him in that car was immediately told to stay home for 14 days and then the extra 7 days just to make sure it ran its course.
Mm.
So from the time we San Quentin shut down, the same week Cue Ball came out on Netflix. So we're talking in April, I think it was, or March, when the country shut down. And then then Cue Ball came out on Netflix, and we got, guards coming in telling us that they seen and that we blowing up and stuff. However, we only had that one case. In May, they had an outbreak that was so bad at CIM in Southern California that they took 111 COVID infected individuals, put them on a bus, and drove them up to San Quentin and put them in the administrative housing unit, thinking that they were going to isolate them there and relieve some of the CIM stuff as well. This is their thinking. This is their words when they say this, right?
Right.
It's not my logic, it's theirs. I'm just saying what their thought pattern was. However, they arrived May, I think the last couple of days in May. By June the 1st, we had our first COVID positive.
Wow.
June the 2nd, it was. June the 4th, it was 30. June the 5th, it was 75. That place hit San Quentin, man. 28 people died before I went home. And you're sitting in a cell at San Quentin in particular that has no proper ventilation, and they literally have the old school bars. So there's no social distancing, and I got a cellie up in there with me too, two grown ass dudes in the cell. So when I found out I was COVID positive, at first I thought it was just my normal seasonal allergies kicking in. But they was testing everybody at the same time, and they said I was positive, man. I was scared to death because I was going to the board 5 weeks later to try to get a date to come home.
Right.
And when that positive test came back, man, I'm going to tell you, I thought immediately, I said, man, I made it through 26 years. 26 years only to get hit by something that I couldn't see coming. You know, thankfully, I had what you would consider mild symptoms, and they gave me, I think it was Tylenol 800s, on a 14-day course, 3 times a day with plenty water. And then after the 7 days, again, it left my system, and then I went to the board the following week and got a date to come home.
Hold
And
up.
so,
Did they treat you differently when you were sick than before you were sick?
yeah, they treated me better after I was sick than they treated me before I was sick.
That's what I wanted to know. That's all I want. Okay.
Yeah, they did everybody like that. One of the things that happened was enough guards said they wasn't coming to work, to where we didn't have enough people to actually go into the kitchen to cook the food for the whole prison.
Mm.
So they had to bring in some caterers. Now I don't know where they was getting these meals from. I'm gonna tell you something, brother. For that whole 26 years I was in jail, those 3 to 4 weeks we was getting them catered meals,
Different.
it hit different, brother.
I hear that. I hear
It hit
that.
different. But yeah, we once COVID hit, they came through the prison. They were doing trips on the tiers 5 times a day to come and check temperatures. They were doing the oxygen test on the fingers. The thing that they didn't give us was the sanitizing stuff. You know what I'm saying? We couldn't get that stuff because, in my personal opinion, when I say what I'm about to say next, this is my personal opinion. I have no proof that I could present to you, even though I know it happened. But what was taking place, we were getting donations coming in from Marshawn Lynch and from E40 for hand
Mm.
sanitizer and stuff like that, and for a mask, and they was getting cut off at the gate by staff, right? And it's not the first time that happened. There was a
Right.
Legionnaires outbreak a couple of years before then, and people donated bottled water to us, and we never got it. They gave us water in Cambros. Those bottled waters never made it past the gate. So it's not the first time it happened. And like I said, I can't bring you some videotape evidence because I'm sitting in prison and I'm technically not supposed to have something that can do some recording. And even if I did, I wouldn't bring it out to try to record that, right? But I'm telling you what happened,
Mm.
right? And there's a whole bunch of other people that's in San Quentin that could tell you what happened when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, they treat you better, and they was trying to give us good treatment while we was in there, but 28 people died, man. There was no way to stop that one thing once it got up in there, man. You ship 111 infected people to a place that didn't have any infections.
Right.
and then you don't think what happened was gonna happen, that means you had no way to be in the position you was in to make that decision to begin with, because you had no foresight.
I don't understand the. I mean, I don't understand the logic of taking infected people from one place to another place. I just don't understand the logic. Maybe it's. I mean, it's probably above my pay grade, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Listen, I don't care whose pay grade is on, it don't make sense. If you have an outbreak someplace, you isolate that place. You don't
Right?
take people from there and say, let me isolate you over here. Oh,
Yeah.
damn it, we done messed up. Oh, look, 28 people died. Well, who gonna be responsible? It wasn't me, it was him. It wasn't me, it was him. And because they're people who are in a position of power, they'll never be held accountable for the 28 people who passed and the 2,800 people who got sick, me being one of them. And we still
Right.
don't know. We still don't know. We don't have enough information to know what damage was done to me by being infected by COVID-19.
Right.
And anybody else that's still living, we don't have all of the information. So now when we start moving into a conversation about vaccines and whatnot, since I've been home, now I got to make a really, really deep research into this stuff before I make my decision on what I'm going to do with my health. Because for 26 years, I didn't have the opportunity to make that decision. So now I have to make decisions for myself on my health. And so that comes into it as well. How they treated me in there was a reflection of the overall medical system in the country.
Facts. That's facts. And you mentioned when we started the conversation about COVID, you mentioned getting out in COVID, during quarantine, later part of 2020, but still quarantine and COVID.
Well, in LA, we had a restriction slapped back on us. I think it may have been 3 days after I came out of my 14-day quarantine. Once you came back in LA County,
Okay. Did quarantine help your reassimilation? I'm just thinking that your reassimilation wasn't straight into the world of a bunch of people. It was doing the same thing everybody else was doing, which was quarantining, maybe. And did that, in your mind, or maybe something you never thought about, but did that help?
let me answer it this way. So I think being in prison helped me to have a different perspective of quarantine lockdown than
Okay.
what the general public had of quarantine lockdown. You know,
Gotcha.
so the news coverage we were getting like 4 months before I came home, you know, was people out here arguing about mask or no mask, and give my face liberty or give my body death or whatever, was the latest line they came up with. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And so they're talking about we're tired of being in the house. We've been locked up for 30 days. So you have guys like me coming out, right? And I'm not the only one, trust me, that literally left lockdown and came home and said, man, what are y'all complaining about? So
Different
I went from a position where I was living in a 4x9 cell. I had a 13-inch television, which you could order legally, right? I had a MP3 player, which you can order legally, you know, and I was living in a 4x9 cell with those creature comforts. And I came to a motel room where I had a toilet to myself, a shower to myself, a big old room with a big old bed by myself, a television with every channel I could possibly think of. And I opened up my door and walked out into the sunshine. No, you might have been on quarantine lockdown, but I was free and I made it work. What I got to do? Oh yeah, I did not let quarantine stop me from making money, man. The VBL called me up on the phone while I was still in the motel room and was like, "Man, you ready to go to work?" Hell yeah, I'm ready to go to work. So as soon as I came out, I think within a week, I'm calling games at Dotweiler Beach out here in Southern California, right down the street from Venice Beach, because they had put bars on the hoops. So we had to find hoops to play these games at. So the first week was Dotweiler Beach. The following game was at Long Beach. The next one was in Huntington Beach, and the last game of the season was in Watts. And I'm at all of them. And that part of my reacclimation back into society was great because I was working.
Right.
I'm doing what I've been doing for 26 years. This is what I do. You know, I go to a prison yard, I go watch the game, and then I open my mouth and start doing play by play.
Mm.
And within 2 days, everybody knows me at the prison. Well, I treated that this my mentality when I came out here was this is just a bigger prison yard with bigger opportunities, right? And less restrictions. But I still had to put restrictions on self. See, I still had to remember who I was.
Indeed.
I had to remember who I was now versus who I was back then. And so I've been moving in who I am now. It's been a lot better and a lot easier too.
Respect. Respect. So we're finally getting to the basketball part of, well, the I guess the Golden State Warriors part of your journey, where you get the call, which we
Right.
talked about. You got the call from Raymond Ritter. Is that right? Or the email.
Ray sent me the email.
So you had the tears, you had the moment, and you head to Oracle. Oracle, right? Oracle. Yeah.
Right. No, the Chase Center.
Chase Center. Excuse me. Chase Center.
Chase Center, yeah.
What's happening? What's happening in that moment leading up to the game? Maybe mentally, not necessarily. Hey, there's Steph Curry. Hey, there's whoever. But for you, really,
I was a mess on the inside.
yeah.
I don't think you'll find a video. You might find the one video where I put my hand in the air where I got my mask on and you can see it in my eyes that I was literally fighting back tears at that moment, you know.
Right.
And the reason it was that moment was because again, both my nieces were sitting up where the press people were at, and they were sitting up there with Mike Talagian, the director of Cue Ball, who showed up for this moment in my life and really in history, you know. And another friend, Bill Epling, who's the one of the guys who runs Prison Sports Ministries, who brought the Golden State Warriors in with his ministry, you
Okay.
know. And so he was in attendance as well. And so you had all of these people, but it was really my nieces, right, to be able to set that kind of example.
Take your time, bro. I feel you. I feel you.
I mean, they were sitting up there, and then my nephews is at home watching, and one of my niece's boyfriends, he couldn't make it to the game with us, so he was still in the hotel and he's watching, you know. And then I had an Instagram audience that I went live and they were watching, and then you got prisons
Yeah. Yeah.
filled with people and people cheering for you who you never met but want to see you succeed. And but it was my nieces that really hit me because the moment I understood it in its context in the moment, but them being there to witness it and be a part of it, that was huge, man. That was like, you know, whose uncle comes home from prison after doing 26 years and is given this opportunity? Who's given this favor? Who's given this grace?
There it
And
is.
can stand up and understand that the universe is blessing you and not beat your chest and say, I did this and I did that, but say, you know, I started out doing it for me, but after a while, it just became me serving other people. You know, I wrote for San Quentin News sports section as a reporter and then later as the sports editor. And my biggest thing was doing interviews so other people can tell their story the same way that you are a reporter who said, man, I want to help tell other people's stories, right? I want to be the vehicle that's used so people can find out who this person is I'm interviewing, what it
Yeah.
is behind the highlights, what it is behind the headlines, you know, to get into and figure out and allow this person to express themselves so they can tell you how they want to be seen versus how they are seen and see if the perspectives can come together, right,
Right.
and iron out the wrinkles. So I understand your position as well because I do a Q&A show as well. So I thank you for this opportunity for people to get to know me. But this is what's going on in those moments, right?
You
And other
well,
than that, other than that though, it was just a basketball game to me, something I've been calling for 26 years in prison, and you know, just another opportunity to get up there and show everybody why it's Showtime's time to shine. That's
love.
with all that said.
Now you see it at Water Lake because of last night. The Lakers gave it to the Warriors a little bit, so I had to rep my squad. This is my squad across the country. This is my squad
I
for
got you.
so. Uh, so about that moment after the game, Steph Curry presents you. I forgot what he said, but the moment before they poured the water on you, even through all
He
that,
said,
I guess it's the same feel.
he said, you know, everybody knows and all Dub Nation knows that when you set it off in the building, when you heat it up, we got to cool you down.
That's it.
Now,
That's
mind you,
it.
had I'd have been anywhere close to a prison, the minute that he made that general statement, you know, and everybody knows in Dub Nation, alarm bells would have went off immediately, and I'd have just took off on him on some violence.
I,
I was, because that's a setup move right there. I to get whooped, so you better get somebody because they're ready to get you right. However, I was so far away from prison mentally, right? I was so far away from prison physically, right? And so far away mentally that I'm looking at him. And if you look at the tape, you can see me looking at him and I'm like this, right? I'm looking like, right? Because I'm hearing him and I don't feel nothing till that water hit me.
I know it's coming.
I
I
said,
know
oh
it's
God.
coming.
No, I didn't know it was coming. When the water hit me, it was like, oh, remember you rehabilitated. Don't do nothing. Don't act the ass right now. The whole country's watching.
Jackie Robinson.
So,
Jackie Robinson.
so
Jackie Robinson.
I had to suck that up.
Respect.
Like you said, Jackie Robinson, you got to take all the spits and the N words and everything else that comes along with this position. I'm not laughing at the history. Please, anybody watching this, I'm not laughing at what our brother Jackie Robinson went through with the name calling and all that. I'm not making light of that at all in any shape, form, or fashion. I don't want nobody to misunderstand the pun that I was using right there. I see. I
Right.
had to learn how to do that as well. Now that I'm a quote unquote public figure, I have to make sure that I understand what I'm saying and make sure I make any corrections for somebody misunderstand what I said.
Or because you know there's always somebody looking to misunderstand you, just something to talk about. Just for something to
For
talk
real, for
about.
real,
So,
for real, for real.
man, I look, we've done 60 minutes. I know you said you had more time, and I can talk to you. We could talk about all kinds of stuff. Like, first of all, well, you know what? Let me ask you this question before I even go there, because I wrote it down. To what do you credit your fortune? Not what being
Wait a minute. Hold on one sec. Hold on one sec. Out here where I live at, you know, LAX and the Hollywood airport is right in distance. So I had a plane going overhead.
word.
Okay, ask that question again. What do I credit? What?
To what do you credit your good fortune from? From the grace we talked about 26, well, 28 years ago at this point, uh, to the moment with the Warriors, to what you've turned that into. To what do you credit your good fortune?
So there's a moment when you have that aha moment. I can't speak about it for women, but I can definitely speak about it from a man's perspective, which is it's the moment when you finally, the light finally comes on and you switch from little boy mode to manhood mode,
Right.
right? Uh, and grown men that's listening or will see this will totally understand what I'm talking about. The moment that you understood that you was responsible and accountable for the things that took place in your life and you quit blaming everybody else for everything that happened to you is the moment you went from little boy mode to grown man mode. When
Mm-hmm.
that happened, right? So I credit it because once that happened and I started taking full accountability and responsibility for the decisions that I made that led to the actions that brought me to prison was the moment I transferred my negative energy that I had been giving out and switched it over to positive energy that I was beginning to emit. Now that didn't stop the bad energy from coming in circular motion to come around and hit me, but because I started putting good energy out, it helped blunt the impact of what it could have been. And
Mm.
because I kept putting out positive energy from right around 2005, 2006 is when I actually started implementing it. I became conscious of it in 2004, but about a year and a half, 2 years later, I started implementing it with all of the good work that I started doing. And so I credit what's been happening to me first and foremost to whatever it is that you believe the Most High is,
Respect.
not what I believe, but to what you believe the Most High is. That's who I give the credit to because that is the entity or the thing which actually created karma to give me an opportunity to put good energy out to replace the bad energy that I had been putting out. And so right now, you know, I'm everything isn't, you know, peaches and cream. I still have problems. You know, I'm a couple of months back, I couldn't pay my rent. I had to ask for help. You know, a couple of months back, basketball, for whatever reason, I couldn't find time to do play by play, which was something that I actually do for therapy as well. And all of this stuff started going out. And rather than take it personal or, you know, turn back to an old mind state, I went in and called on spirit again and, you know, calmed myself, looked at my options and said, okay, let's strike forth this way. And it's been good ever since. So I credit the Most High and karma and me being aware of what's taking place around me third. But the Most High and karma always comes first because it's putting good people around me. You know, it's putting people that's correcting me when I need correcting, you know, that's nudging me in one direction or the other when I need it, right? That's not allowing me to make the mistakes that I made before, to help me not get into that same mind thought, you know, to get back in that same negative energy wave, but constantly reminding me of who I am now and how I'm seen now. I'm not Aaron Taylor from August the 25th, 1994 anymore. I'm not that person physically because of biology and physiology, right? I'm not that person mentally because I changed the way I think and the way I practice. I'm not that way spiritually anymore, you know. So in a sense, I'm a new person trapped in an old image. And so I'm just trying to make that image new again
Do people try to take you back
all the time.
on
People who
purpose?
know me,
On
people
purpose?
who know me, people who know me that's been knowing me that knew my nicknames, they still call me that. But they don't do it in a sense like they're trying to let's recapture that person. It's more in that's who they met, that's who they knew, but they knew me outside of the thug stuff that I was doing. They knew who that person was. Right. So
Gotcha.
some people still call me Doc. Other people just call me Aaron. You know, I don't mind, but if you don't know Doc, I don't want you to call me that. You would have to actually know who that person is. And a lot of people don't. And I don't really want people to know who he is because he was a piece of shit. You
Mm.
know, that dude, he wasn't shit. He was, you know, and he brought things down around him. He brought negative energy with him. You know, he wasn't a positive force. You know, he was a negative cat. So I don't never want to resurrect that guy again.
Do you think that guy could have turned around in time though, without the prison stint?
No, no.
Okay.
No, I had no self-control whatsoever. You know, drugs was a part of my life. It was a conscious decision for me to use drugs. It was a conscious decision for me to start drinking while I was using drugs, you know, and the way that I was going about getting my money to pay for that stuff was a conscious decision that I made. You know,
Yeah.
wasn't nobody's fault. Yes, there are traps in society. Let's be 100% clear about that. There's traps everywhere for us. Except I was the dumbass who decided that I wanted to try to jump through the traps as a game till one of them caught me and
Got
drug my ass off the hill. Ah!
real. That's real. Man. Hey man, I appreciate your ability to be open and not to laugh at your pain, but to and not internalize it, I guess, in the moment and share it with other people. I know you credit a lot of it to the and all that. It had to be in you somewhere. It had to be in you for it to even show. I would think.
I don't want people to look at me and be like, man, you see that dude, man? He survived 26 years in prison. Man, take a lot of strength to do that. That's a true statement. But even truer, man, you see that fool right there? Did you see what he did to make him what he did to put himself in a position to go to prison? See, I want to avoid that part of it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's cool, you know what I'm saying, if we want to sit around and stand on the block and talk about, yeah, nigga, I just did 26. I went in heterosexual and I came out heterosexual. Ain't never snuck behind the curtain with another man's son. Ain't never ran out on a ride and ain't never snitched on nobody. Yeah, that's cool. That gives me street cred. I can go anywhere in anybody's neighborhood, not just in America, but on the planet, right? And be like, man, you'll never test what I'm talking about, right? I could do that, right? Or I could be like, man, you need to learn how to deal with your emotions because what drove me to using drugs was me not being able to handle the emotions of finding out that a woman who I'd been having sex with was actually a lesbian and the child that I thought we had wasn't ours. It was somebody else's, right? And you need to be able to deal with those type of emotions in those moments rather than try to self-medicate, right? Instead of trying to self-medicate and using weed and cocaine and alcohol and anything else to try to cover that pain up, we need to start learning how to say, you know what? I need some help.
Pain. Right.
I need some help. I don't know how to deal with this, you know. And I'm lashing out and I'm blaming everybody, but it's really just I was hurt real bad and I don't know how to deal with it.
You
Nobody
know,
showed me how to deal with it. Could you please help me?
that's a
Right.
lot of it. That's a lot of it where we get to the point of, you know, people being a man. There's being a man. You know, there's some things that responsibilities, manhood, blah blah blah. There's also ideas of being a man that have literally nothing to do with being a man. We just try to make it that. For instance, I, my one of my homies, uh, he got mad, not mad, but he got annoyed because I said he was emotional. Now he's not like crying or, you know, throwing a fit or anything like that, but he would resort to violence. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that is you being emotional. You might not be crying. You might not, you know, do it in a way that you think a woman would do it. But if your first response is to hit somebody that made you mad, that's emotion. You're still emotional. They don't like that. They don't like that at all.
No, listen, most men, when they start to learn about X and Y chromosome, and that we have an X chromosome, and that women are XX chromosome, and the way I taught it in prison for years, and the way I still teach it right now today is very simple, and I'm gonna just give it to you and your audience the way I give it to you. If you look at a woman and your first thought is she's acting like a B word, then please understand as a man, you have an X chromosome and you have the ability to act just like her, and most of y'all do.
That's
You
real.
just don't you just don't throw tantrums the same way women do, right? I'll
Right.
give you an example of what I'm talking about. We both in the same age group, so I'll give it to you this way, right? We on the block, we get ready to make our mind up, we get ready to go do something, right? And there's always that one homie standing to the side going like this, man, I don't know if I really want to go, man, because I don't even like them other dudes, right? But this is one of the downest ones. You want him to go. So there's always that other homie that say, hold up, man, I'm gonna go talk to him for a minute. Y'all go and get the car and shit together. Hold on. And then those two go off and he talks to him. And then when they come back, he's back. Yeah, let's go handle this shit right now. You know what I'm saying? Because they got us all right. So what happened was, and this is the way I explain it, his X chromosome went to work on him, right? His inner quote unquote B word, right? Since this is how they refer to women, let me show you how they be acting that way. So his
Right.
his inner B went to work on him, and he needed somebody to reinforce and encourage his B, quote unquote, to man up and be the man he was supposed to be. So he went over there, he went over and pulled him to the side and casted a spell on his B. You can do this, fool. You gonna show these fools that they got you fucked up. We finna go over here and light this whole porch up, man, and let these ass know what they, and remind
Yeah.
him that he's the hero in this show, right? Now, how many times have you seen or heard this, or the people listening seen or heard this, right? That's what I'm talking about when dudes don't understand their X chromosome. If you looking at a woman talking about her, just remember that you have that same thing in you, and I've seen you dudes manifest bitchness in your actions since I've been home. So you really need to start to understand the physiological makeup and the biological makeup of the emotional platform that you diving off of every day.
Right. Right.
If I hadn't went to
Emotions.
prison and actually studied, I studied Hockenberry and Hockenberry 101 psychology to start to get a better understanding of why I was making the decisions that I was making and to understand the psychology of individuals who claim that they believe in God. See, I went in with a dual purpose and
Mm.
came out with a streamlined thing. Like, yeah, I see this now. Okay, because I suffered from it. So I know the sickness when I see it.
Yeah, G's life. This man is in LA. Yes. Good call. He must see the sun you see over there, you know, see the same brightness. I don't know how he figured that, but or maybe
Well,
maybe he looks
when we said we was doing this interview, right, I told my niece, right, I was like, you know, You think it's gonna be too much if I go out by the pool? Because we in an apartment building, right? But I don't want to make it look like, man, Uncle Daddy Grandpa out there balling. Man, I live in an apartment building that just happens to have a pool. And the light hit well right here.
You know what it is.
Right.
My man, my
Staging is
man,
everything.
and fact, that is a fact. My man G's said he got a lot of homeboys in East LA that can use a positive message.
It used to be a time, man, and it's crazy that you mentioned that. When I first went to jail, unfortunately, I went to jail for the first time at 18 years old back in 1984. And back then, there was a lot more racial unity between blacks and browns, right? Um,
Yeah,
that has eroded and degraded, and thanks to policy and tactics, it was designed that way to where everything is fragmented at this point. So, yeah, if I got a telephone call to go to East LA, I'm there. I can go into anybody's neighborhood. Like I said, I have a street record that allows me to walk around and not worried about people doing something to me because I wasn't in there being foul, and I'm not foul out here, right? At least since I've been home. Now, there's people who were old enemies from an old lifestyle who aren't even old enemies anymore because they respect the demonstration that's taking place now, right? That doesn't mean that we calling each other up and praying together or nothing like that. That just means that when I did see them, we had a conversation and came to an understanding, right? That I wasn't the same person anymore. And they recognized that and allowed me to walk away from them. I don't want nobody to sit here and think about that. I walked up to them, was like, yeah, this is how it is. And this is how we finna function. And if you don't function the way I'm functioning, we finna set. No, it wasn't like that. When I went to these brothers, I went to them humbly, you know. I know what happened 28, 29, 30 years ago. I know how we lived in the streets back then, but I'm not that same person anymore, man. And I know y'all seen the news coverage and stuff. Yeah, we seen the news coverage and stuff, man. I'm not that person no more, man. I'm 55 years old, dog. You know what I'm saying? Thankfully, we made it to this age, and they
right.
allowed me to walk away from them. I didn't go in with no tough talk. I went in humbly like you're supposed to and seeking peace. And I was granted peace and the ability to walk
Respect.
away from those meetings and walk away with my head up, and they can walk away with their head up, and nobody feels less than. Those are that's an old lifestyle with old memories and old ways that we just don't live anymore.
Respect. Respect. Let's before I let you go, man. Let's touch on elevated a little bit. Let the
Okay.
people know my side exactly what it people know my side exactly what it is you're doing now. The middle school, the Drew, is that the Drew?
The Drew Middle School in
So
Compton.
that is takes place
That's
as
correct.
well,
So
where the
that's
Drew League
that's
takes.
that's the Legacy Pro Am League, yeah. And
Oh,
what happened? I was on my Instagram, and they had their opening weekend coming up, and I just reached out, right? And I did. I planned on doing the whole weekend free, yesterday and today. So I was out there yesterday working for free, and when I finish with you, I'm gonna hop in the car and go from Van Nuys, where I'm at, to Compton. And I won't do any games today because I kept my interview with you. But what I will do is go there. I'll go live on Instagram for about 30 minutes or so. You know what I'm saying? Do a couple of interviews, talk to some people, and then go. Because one thing I definitely believe. Now, granted, I've been given a lot of opportunities since I've been home, and people have been paying me a lot of money to do play-by-play, and I'm grateful for it all. But I also remember where I came from, and I also remember everybody can't afford my prices, right?
right.
So we're gonna scratch the price sometimes. We don't need to. I don't need to charge you for this. I'm just gonna come out here and do it. The same thing if I go out to Venice one day and do it. Venice Basketball League has treated me so well, right? That anytime they need me and I'm available, I'm going there. The Women's Universal Basketball Association, Fatima Amin Ra A, right, treated me so well that anytime she calls me and says, hey, I got a function for you, if there's no conflict in my schedule, I'm there. I support the people that supported me when I needed support, definitely. And I don't have to go in talking about, give me some money and here's my price. Nah, man, I'm just showing up doing this, man. You know, this one needs to be done. Other people can afford to pay it, and in those times, I'll charge whatever's appropriate. But everything isn't about money. Some of this stuff is just about being present with your people and being present in the moment, and supporting your people just by being there. Who knows that some mother may have a son or a nephew or something that's locked up and can have the opportunity to talk to me, and like, hey man, because I have that conversation a lot where people are telling me, I got a son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew, my you know what I'm saying? They're telling me about what's going on with them, And because of the position that I talked about earlier that I knew I was stepping into, that means I have to make myself available for those conversations
Right.
and be present in that moment when I'm talking to this person, you know? And so doing the play by play just on the strength is a lot more than just doing work for quote unquote free. You know, it's about giving back, man. And I will involve race in this one. It involves giving back to blackness, you know,
Thanks.
giving back to blackness because blackness has given me everything that I am, you know. If it wasn't for blackness, I wouldn't be here because I mean, in everybody's holy book, it said first it was dark. So, you
That's a whole argument. That's a whole argument.
know. And so on an ethnic and a race level, yeah, I have a duty and a responsibility to give back to my folks. Of course I do. And of course
Right.
I feel it, and of course I'm gonna do it. You know, I don't have to always be waving the banner red, black, and green like this. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to do it. I live it every day. You know,
You are
every
the
day
color.
I live it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, giving back, that's what you do, you know. And you still got we still got another 12 minutes, I think, man. Go on and get it out.
So what uh what were you doing at the Warriors game? Was that recent? The picture that I saw recently? Was
The
that,
stuff I just showed that I just
yeah.
posted, that was from January the 9th when
Okay.
Clay came back. So I have an interview. My Instagram is Rebirth a Chick, right? At Instagram, and you can go look at my podcast, Hard in the Paint, and you'll see an interview I did in there with the Warriors president of basketball operations, Bob Myers, and he had said in that interview, he's like, "Look, man, when Clay comes back, we're gonna fly you up. You know what I'm saying? Do the whole photo spread and stuff." Okay, cool, let's do it. You know, in fact, let's bring everybody that was a San Quentin Warrior who's out now. It's only one that's still locked up, but let's bring all of them in, right? I don't know what happened, but I was the only one that came. But those pictures and those videos and stuff that I'm posting came from that last trip.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. So that I won't say that door is open, but there's always you've got that relationship. That relationship is solid.
Yeah, yeah. There's, you know, I'm not the type of guy that, you know, I definitely don't like bragging. I will
Right.
say this though. My contact list since I've been home is it's some people in the industry that would have a fit. Man, let me get that number, man. Let me get that number. No. If they didn't give it to you, I'm not giving it to you. And I'm gonna
Exactly.
tell you why. Well, I'm gonna tell you why, right? Because a lot of people look at me and like, man, you got access to these people. Can you do this for me? Listen, I did spend 26 years in prison. Period. Just let that set. I just did 26 years in prison.
Yeah,
Right.
that's real. That's real.
Just period. Right. And to explain that means that while I was inside, I took the opportunity to cultivate relationships that I had long before I met the Warriors. Right. And in cultivating those relationships, you cultivate friendships.
True.
Right. In doing so, you create association. If I bring you to those people and something goes wrong, they're not going to look at you per se. They're going to look at me because I brought you to them,
Yep.
and vice versa. If the Warriors come to me and ask me to do something in the quote unquote hood, then I'm going to be looking at them like, well, what are you trying to do? Because I don't want you misusing them. So, in essence, what I'm saying is I've been put in a position as a gatekeeper as well. And I value that position. And if there's any way that I can link the two, I'm definitely going to do it. But I'm not just going to go just because somebody thinks that they have a good idea and just bring it to somebody. And if it goes bad, I'm going to be responsible for it.
Right.
That's understanding accountability and responsibility as well.
Love it. I love it. I love it.
But I'm gonna do. But with that being said, I'm gonna do everything that I can in my power that make sure that I'm representing not just incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, right? I'm talking about representing the new version that I'm discovering of what manhood is, representing that, representing this blackness, representing what it looks like to be formerly incarcerated and healed when you
Mm.
come out, you know. So I'm trying to work on all of that at the same time and still have fun too, because I only been out 17 months. So trust,
Yeah. I'm like it's
trust.
been that long. It ain't been that long.
It ain't been that long. And thankfully, I met my sweetheart, my queen. You know what I'm saying? My right hand, my breath, right here on TikTok. Sharon Santiago, I met her right here on the
Well,
app.
Wow, you doing TikTok commercials as well, interviews and TikTok commercials at the same time.
No, she got the commercial. She's got an ad out right now. I'm just Uncle Daddy Grandpa, you know, but yeah, you know, this app and the people on it, right, have they really gave me a way to heal and transition into society by being able to get that creative side out over here so it wasn't bottled up in the other parts of my life. I get to
Right,
come over here and be creative. I can be funny. I can be emotional. I can cry doing a song. I can bring that stuff out that I couldn't bring out for 26 years, right? I can express it here, right? And it's entertaining. It's fun. It's even more fun when I get hooked up with Big Boy and Big Brother Thunder and Big Daddy Jackson and Hitch, you know what I'm saying, and OGATL, you know what I'm saying, and all of those cats. When I get hooked up with them through Miss Cece, and then it becomes a competition for who can do the best types of videos in our own lane
right.
and still be individual kings with their own, you know, quote unquote support staff and all of this other stuff. Man, it got good at that point, man, because now I'm looking at them do videos and I'm like, okay, I got to step my game up now. I got to step this up. You know what I'm saying? Got to come out here. Got to go to the. I got a lot of suits, right? This is a tip for people who watching this and who's doing lip syncing here on the app. I went to the Goodwill and got a lot of suit jackets, right? In the beginning. Some of those suit jackets I still have. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on a brand new suit. Go to the Goodwill, get back to the community, get you a couple of jackets that you can wear for a couple of times in your videos. Go take them back, donate them again, and get you 3, 4 more jackets, right?
Switch it
The
up on
thing, yeah, get your grown man on as well as your baseball cap and your t-shirt, you know what I'm saying? Put your suits on and stuff too, you know what I'm saying?
them.
Broaden that scope out. But doing that and doing videos with those brothers, right? And then me meet my queen on here, it's just, you know, I'm having fun, man. After 26 years, man, I'm having big fun, right? This app is big fun. The people are big fun, man. They keep me trying to come up with something new just
Mm,
so I can make people smile, man. And that's really good for me and for them, man. I love making people smile, man. I like moving people.
that's what it is. That's what life is, bro.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you taking the time, man. You gave a lot of time to somebody you don't really know, so I appreciate you doing this.
Man, my family, part of my family, right? Because we make family. Relatives is where we were born at. Family is who we start choosing. And once I started giving love and appreciation to TikTok, it started giving it back to me. You know, so anybody that comes across my path that I could see that they, and like I said, when I came across your profile, I'm looking at you laying out some stuff when it comes to hip hop. Now I'm old school vet. You know, I got a couple of disagreements with you, but they weren't gonna be no arguments. It was like, okay, I see where he coming from. I see where he coming from. I see this, right? He likes some people I may not necessarily put in my top 10, but there's an argument that can be made from his perspective. So let me keep watching him and check this out. And there was a consistency. So I'm like, okay, I'm bringing this brother in like this. So when you ask, what, am I turn you down? No, stepping up.
I
Stepping up all the time, man. All the time.
definitely appreciate you. Once again, y'all on my side, make sure you follow Aaron Showtime Taylor. Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle Daddy Grandpa is
Yeah.
what it is.
I
And
only changed it to Uncle Poppy Grandpa just for a month. I just like the way it came out. Uncle Pappy Grandpa, you know what I'm saying? Plus Sharon loved it too. Listen, if Sharon says she likes something, just you like that baby? Okay, hold up. Skirt.
go with it. Save yourself the trouble, bro. Once
Wait, ask that
again,
question
Aaron
again because my
Showtime
screen
Taylor,
my,
bruh.
my screen froze. Say that one more time.
Oh, I just say I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Man, anytime, man. And if anybody has a podcast or they want to do an interview or anything like that, DM me. You know what I'm saying, and we can hook it up. I'm always making myself available to speak to people if necessary or if asked to do so. Man, I want to give back now. I don't want to be a taker. I want to be a giver.
Indeed, respect, bro. Enjoy the rest of the day and have a good time at those games.
Man, I'm finna go up here and grab my two grandnephews by their ankles and turn them upside down and just shake them like this for about 2 minutes.
All love,
That's,
it's all love.
I'm Uncle Daddy Grandpa, man. I'm finna go up in here, man, beat up on my two grandnephews. Come here. Treat them. Hey, you remember Underdog, the cartoon back in the day? You remember how Riff
Absolutely.
Raff and his goons used to just roll up and just grab him by their feet and just shake all of them?
Yep. That's real life. Real. Appreciate it, bro.
Anytime you need me, man, I'll be here. Just DM me, call me. You got my number. Hit me up, man.
Yes, sir. Will do.
All right. And
All
thank you,
right.
everybody that tuned in from my side. And if you on the brother side, man, yeah, please follow me, man. Help me, support me. You know what I'm saying? Catch me on Morning Cup of Jazz, or you going to catch Uncle Daddy Grandpa, because I got another video coming out later on tonight. I'm on some stuff again.
All right, bro.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.